When it comes to KOF characters that fans hope make a playable return in 15, Ash Crimson is a name that pops up more than most others. That is quite surprising considering how polarizing the infamous Protagonist was at the start of his run. Maybe it's a matter of looking better in hindsight? Love him or despise him, Ash was definitely a memorable character. Just when you thought a KOF protagonist couldn't be more edgy and anti than K-Dash, up pops this mean liar wielding green fire. These are 10 fascinating facts about Ash Crimson. Number 1, SNK initially refused to give much info about him. Usually when a character is introduced to the crowd for the first time, developers will give a decent amount of background information on them. This is usually done to further get the crowd invested and hold their interest until their release. As you probably predicted, this wasn't the case with Ash Crimson. Upon his debut in KOF 2003, SNK did not release a lot of information about the new arc's new protagonist. They instead told fans to look forward to his exploits, aka, if I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. And what was the surprise? Well, number 2, SNK wanted you to feel bad for rooting for him. Unlike the 2 KOF protagonists before him, Ash garnered a mixed reception upon his debut. I'm sure Ash gave the biggest sigh of relief and had the biggest smile on his smug mug when he was brought back to life and heard people dunking on this new kid on the block named Shunei. According to SNK artist Falcon, the goal with Ash was to create an ambiguous protagonist that would make players feel bad for cheering for them. Did SNK accomplish this? From what I've seen, their expectations were probably shattered, and not in a good way. While I'm sure there may be some people who felt bad for cheering for Ash, I'm sure most of the fanbase either loved him or despised him from beginning to end. However, he seems to have garnered a cult following eagerly wishing for his return in 15. Number 3, a tip of the hat to a fellow Brat. If Ash Crimson were to return to the playable roster in KOF 15, it'll be interesting to see his interactions with characters he hadn't previously crossed paths with. However, one of said characters seems to be of some familiarity to Ash. In a special intro versus Kyo in Maximum Impact Regulation A, which will not be the last time we mention that game on here, Ash chuckles before saying, sound familiar? For those not in the know, it's a quote lifted from Orochi, Not Me Chris in KOF 97. While these two have never met, far as we know, it would make sense that Ash would spoof a quote from KOF's other resident pretty boy Brat. With both of them now being alive again, that'll be quite the meeting, if it happens. Number 4, he's the first and only KOF protagonist to not return to the roster at the start of a new arc. Protagonists in SNK fighting games usually tend to be playable roster for lifers, whether they are the focal point of the arc or not. Even when Fatal Fury delved into its new generation storyline in Garou, Terry Bogard was still there. Although AOF 3's storyline focused more squarely on Robert, BFF Rio still remained playable. This further applied to Kyo and K-Dash in KOF, and then there was Ash. As we all know, Ash did not return to the roster in 14 due to him being trapped inside of the game's main antagonist, Verse. We now know that he is alive and was found by Betty and Kukri. While he missed the beginning of the Shunei saga, he may very well return to the roster somewhere in between. Number 5, KOF 12's Unused Files. KOF 12. The game that spawned the No My No Buy movement. Usually when this game is mentioned, it's met with negative reactions. The game does feel rather rushed, especially when you consider SNK hit a 5-pointer with KOF 13. Well, look at me making Windjammers references. Speaking of rushed, a couple of unused files found on KOF 12's disk possibly hinted at some interesting plans getting scrapped. Said files appear to mention someone named Dark Ash. Was Evil Ash originally set to debut one game earlier? Well, seeing that KOF 12 didn't have a storyline, it probably was too early to bring him out. Number 6, he's the only protagonist to enter the KOF tournament as a solo entry in their respective arc. Even when it comes to unique statistics, Ash Crimson is a loose cannon. Of all the mainline KOF protagonists, only Ash and Kyo have entered the tournament alone. Kyo went solo in 99 after reverting Total Exclusion, as SNK was looking to push Nest Saga protagonist K-Dash at the time. Speaking of K-Dash, despite his antisocial ways, he always rolled with the team throughout his arc. Current KOF protagonist Shunei debuted on a team and will be on a team in the upcoming game. Ash started out on the team, but as I'm sure you know, he struck out on his own in his arc's finale. While that move could be seen as pretty badass, Todd Ciolic of Anime News Network joked that this was done because no one liked Ash anymore. It's even worse considering number 7, he's the first KOF protagonist to not win a KOF tournament. The third and final edition of Ash shattering the KOF protagonist mold ends on a tragic note. Even after jacking Chizuru and Iori's artifacts, pulling a fast one on Psyche, who then proceeded to pull a fast one right back, Ash closed out his arc with no KOF tournament wins. Granted, he had a hand in successfully doing away with Psyche in 13, the canon tournament winners were Team Elizabeth. At the time of recording, Shun'ei currently has no KOF tournament wins to his name, but his arc is still fairly new. That could easily change. And seeing he's teaming up with someone who has won more KOF championships than anyone else in 15, his chances might have gone up a bit. We shall see. Number 8, he's one of the A's in Maximum Impact Regulation A. Ever wondered what the A in Maximum Impact Regulation A means? That's a lot of A's. According to Falcon, the answer is actually 3 different things. Obviously, you probably figured out that one of the A's is for Ash Crimson, as Regulation A marked the Sneering Blaze's debut into the spin-off series. If you're curious, the other 2 A's are for Arcade and Arrange. Arcade is a reference to the port's initial release to the arcades. Arrange is referring to how SNK readjusted and arranged the game's content. Number 9 is flames weren't always green. Well, this I wasn't expecting. Ash's malevolent green flames are still a mystery to this day. We don't know why they have such a candle waxy appearance, nor do we know of their origin. Something else I didn't know before researching this topic is that apparently Ash's flames were once very much plain. A rejected piece of KOF 2003 artwork shows Ash Crimson posing with one of his hands shrouded in a yellowish flame. I speculate SNK did not intend for Ash to have an imitation of Kyo's flames, or have anything that could remotely hint at a connection to the Kusanagi's, so they decided to go with the green flames instead. Good move. Still wonder where they came from though. Number 10, Games Radar calls his name stupid. So, I feel there are plenty of things you can criticize about Ash Crimson. Maybe you don't like the design. Perhaps you didn't like all the terrible things he did to several other longtime favorite characters. There is a lot to gripe about. One thing that never crossed my mind to ridicule is his name. If you ask me, the name Ash Crimson sounds pretty cool. I can't really explain why other than it has a nice ring to it. In a Games Radar article by David Houghton and Maxwell McGee titled The 50 Most Gloriously Stupid Character Names in Video Games, Ash's name is lampooned as sounding like a grab bag of words people think sound cool. Sheesh guys, his name isn't something like Ash Crimson the Blazing Incinerator. The writers further state that if Ash started a band, it would totally be called Nightmare Final Infinity. I think Ash would laugh at you for thinking that he'd think that. Other notable fighting game characters that made this list include Batman and Soul Bat Guy from Guilty Gear, Skullomania from Street Fighter EX, Martial Law from Tekken, and Afro Thunder from Ready to Rumble Boxing. Perhaps this article wasn't meant to be taken too seriously, as some of the reasons for entries are kinda funny, but bruh. And that's that. Know any other cool facts about Ash Crimson? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos in the future. And as usual, peep the pinned comment below and vote on the next character that we cover. Thanks again, and I'll catch y'all next time. Take care, be safe out there. See ya.